I never thought the light would carry me into a place so cold it could hollow out a soul. I am Brother Alaric Thorn of the Argent Crusade, a healer by training and a confessor by unfortunate necessity, and these words are the last truth I have left to offer. I speak them now because I fear there will be no one left to hear them by dawn, and because what happened in those final hours at Icecrown must not die with me. The glacier wind clawed at my face as if trying to peel it away. Icecrown does not simply freeze flesh. It tests it, probes it, measures what is soft and living and vulnerable. Even beneath 3 layers of wool and plate, the cold seeped into my bones the way doubt seeps into faith. Quietly at first, then completely. Every breath tasted like iron and grave dust. Every exhalation drifted upward like a prayer that did not dare expect an answer. Around me, the crusade was breaking. Not in one dramatic moment, but slowly, piece by piece, like a statue collapsing from within. I watched paladins who once stood unshaken begin to flinch at every distant scream. I watched veterans who had survived the fall of Lord Aeron wrap charms and holy symbols tighter around their wrists. I watched new recruits stare too long at the horizon where the citadel loomed and return with something gone behind their eyes. We had been at Icecrown for weeks, though time warped strangely here. One day could feel like an hour. 1 hour could feel like a week. Exhaustion made everything blur together until only the cold was real. Cold, and the certainty that something unseen was watching us from the jagged spire at the world's edge. The Lich King did not need to attack to weaken us. His mere presence stripped away warmth, courage, memory. If hope were a candle, then Icecrown was a hand that snuffed it with perfect patience. I remember the night it began, the true beginning of the end, because the sky changed color. Northrend skies never truly brighten, but this shift was wrong. The black clouds over the citadel churned into a bruised green, as if reflecting some enormous, unseen wound beneath the glacier. The air vibrated with a low hum you could feel through your ribs. The ghouls howled in the valley below, but they were not howling at us. They were howling with something. Somewhere in the camp, a horn blew. Not an alarm, not a rallying call, just a long, low note. One I had never heard before, and have never heard since. A sound of surrender. "Brother Thorn," someone whispered behind me. I turned to find Sister Lyrian at my side, her hood rimed with frost, her pupils wide and glassy. "Do you hear it?" "Hear what?" I asked. "The counting," she murmured. "They're counting us." I told her the cold had gotten into her ears. I told her exhaustion was playing tricks. But when I closed my eyes that night, I heard it too. A slow whisper, like beads sliding across a string. Not numbers spoken aloud, just the sensation of being measured. We tried to ignore it. We prayed. We worked. We prepared for the final assault. But the wind carried the whisper through every tent flap, through every crack in the frozen earth, through every breath we drew. It lost no strength. It had no source. It simply was. The commanders ordered us to our posts anyway. Doubt is a luxury soldiers cannot afford, and Icecrown does not respect luxuries. At dawn, if such a thing can exist in a land without sunlight, we advanced across a field of frozen corpses toward the lower walls of the citadel. The dead beneath the ice stared up at us, their frozen faces twisted in silent screams. Some had been there since the first Northrend expeditions. Some had died only hours before. Their eyes were frosted over, but I could feel them tracking us as we passed. The Scourge waited, motionless, perfectly still. A wall of ghouls, abominations, skeletal beasts, frost worms perched along ledges of bone and ice. Not one moved, not one hissed, not one drew breath they did not need. It was as though the entire army had paused mid-gesture, frozen in obedience to something commanding absolute silence. Tyrion Fordring raised Ashbringer high. Light flashed off the blade, scattering brief, warm reflections across the horror before us. "For the living," he roared. "For the light," our paladins answered. "For survival," someone else muttered under their breath, barely audible over the wind. I lifted my staff, hands trembling with cold that had nothing to do with the temperature. And then the Scourge charged. Not in a staggered rush, not in chaotic hunger. In perfect synchronization, a single movement, as if directed by one thought. The ice shook, the sky screamed, our line braced, shields locked, weapons raised. The first impact drove half a dozen Crusaders off their feet. A wave of ghouls swarmed over the barricades like insects over a rotting carcass. I shouted a prayer and flung light into the swarm, but the magic flickered, almost went out entirely, as though the light itself was shivering. A ghoul lunged at me, jaw unhinged, teeth clicking like chattering bone. I slammed my staff into its skull. The thing collapsed, but its severed head continued snapping at the snow. Around me, the Argent Crusade was dissolving into chaos, a chaos the Scourge did not share. Our warriors fought with ferocity, but the dead fought with purpose. They targeted healers first, then standard bearers, then anyone who shouted commands. One by one, the pillars that held the crusade together were torn down. "Fall back!" a voice cried. "Hold the line!" someone else screamed. A lie. The line was already broken. I saw a paladin dragged into a pit of writhing bodies, his hammer rising once, twice, then vanishing beneath green glowing claws. I saw an abomination tear a dwarf in half and fling the pieces in different directions as though annoyed by the weight. I saw a frost worm swoop low, its breath turning 3 dozen soldiers into statues of ice before shattering them with a flap of its wings. But the worst thing I saw were the eyes, not the glowing blue of undeath. The hollowing in the eyes of the living, that moment the light left them before life did. We were losing. We had always been losing. Icecrown had simply grown tired of pretending otherwise. I pushed through the melee, healing who I could, praying over who I couldn't, whispering last rites through frozen lips. Every spell drained me faster than it should. Every wound I closed felt like it reopened somewhere inside me. I was burning through myself like a candle in a blizzard. "Brother Thorn!" Lyrienne again. Her face streaked with dirt and thawed blood, her breath ragged. She grabbed my arm and pointed toward the Citadel's gate. Something was emerging. Not the Lich King. Not yet. Something worse in its own way. A Valkyr, wings unfurled like banners of torn moonlight. She descended slowly, almost gently, as though savoring every second of our terror. Bodies trembled beneath her. Souls strained against their flesh, trying to flee before she reached them. She opened her mouth. Her voice was not a sound. It was a memory. My mother calling my name through the smoke of a burning chapel. My brother's last breath during the plague. Every regret I had ever tried to bury. "Alaric!" Lyrienne tried to shout, but her voice was swallowed by the Valkyr's presence. The creature extended one pale finger toward me. My vision tilted. My knees buckled. Something tugged at my ribs from the inside. She wasn't stealing my breath. She was stealing me. Then a surge of golden fire slammed into the Valkyr's side, knocking her off her course. Tyrion Fordring stood between us, Ashbringer blazing like a star torn from the heavens. The Valkyr shrieked and spiraled back toward the citadel, her form warping as she retreated into the shadows above. "Brother Thorn!" Tyrion barked. "On your feet!" I tried. "Light preserve me," I tried, but I felt hollow, as if part of me had been taken, and the Valkyr had simply left the rest behind out of courtesy. "We regroup at the inner wall," a commander shouted. "Move, Crusade! Move!" I staggered after the others, Lyrienne gripping my elbow with white-knuckled desperation. Behind us, the Scourge surged forward again, unstoppable as a tide. We fell back across a bridge of black iron. The gates slammed shut behind us. The undead slammed against the other side with bone-cracking force. The inner courtyard was a graveyard of shattered statues and half-collapsed fortifications. The air itself vibrated with dread. The whispers grew louder. Counting. Always counting. I realized then that they weren't counting us. They were counting down. And we had no idea what happened when they reached 0. I could still hear the whispers even with the gates barred behind us, though now they felt closer, circling inside the skull instead of around the walls. The courtyard held perhaps a third of the crusade that had marched in that morning. Many leaned on weapons just to remain standing. Some stared at their own shaking hands, as though unsure they still controlled them. A few knelt in the snow, whispering prayers with voices already slipping into numb monotony, repeating words that had lost their meaning somewhere between the first scream and the last retreat. The cold was deeper here. Not sharper, not harsher, deeper, like sinking into a frozen sea and feeling the weight of all the ice above you. The citadel loomed higher than ever, the spire rising into a storm that made no sound, but churned with slow, deliberate malice. I felt its gravity pulling at my thoughts, tilting them toward a shape I could not yet see. Alaric! Lyrienne turned me to face her. Her lips were cracked and pale, her freckles rhymed with a fine dusting of frost. "You stopped responding." "I'm listening," I said, though my voice felt like someone else's borrowed breath. "No," she insisted. "You were listening to them. Don't let them in. Don't let them measure you." "Too late for that," I almost said. They had already taken a piece of me with that Valkyr's touch. I could feel the absence like a missing tooth my tongue could not stop probing. Another horn blew, sharp this time, frantic. A paladin stumbled through the courtyard, dragging a wounded soldier, shouting, "Incoming! They're scaling the walls! They're coming from above!" Above. Instinct made me look up. The sky split. Valkyr poured out of the cloud banks in a spiraling descent, their wings unfolding like banners dipped in moonlit blood. Behind them came gargoyles and frost worms, each one shedding snow and rot as they dove. And behind them, something darker. A shadow with edges that did not obey wind or light. A presence more than a shape. A heaviness in the chest. A pressure against the spine. I tasted blood. "Positions!" a commander bellowed, voice cracking. "Hold the courtyard! Hold!" A frost worm struck him mid-command, freezing him and 3 nearby soldiers into a single crystalline mass before smashing the sculpture with one sweep of its tail. "Alaric! Shield!" Lyrienne cried. I raised my staff, but the light sputtered in my grip, as though unsure whether to come when called. I whispered a prayer anyway, forcing it out through clenched teeth. The barrier flickered into place just as a gargoyle crashed into us. The impact rattled every bone from wrist to shoulder. Cracks spread across the shimmering surface of the shield. The gargoyle screeched and slashed again. The barrier shattered, scattering sparks into the air like dying fireflies. Lyrienne hurled a burst of light into the creature's chest, carving a hole straight through its ribcage. It collapsed without a sound, wings folding around its broken form. "We can't stay out here," she gasped. "We can't go back," I said. "The gate won't hold. They'll overwhelm us. They already have." Her breath stuttered. I didn't blame her. Even speaking truth felt like treason here. All around us, the crusade was fighting in frantic pockets of resistance. Small clusters of soldiers surrounded by swarms of undead, paladins dragging wounded comrades behind fallen barricades, healers chanting through tears as the light flickered in their hands. A Valkyr swooped low, lifting a screaming crusader into the air. Her wings beat slowly, deliberately, as if savoring every heartbeat of the soldier's terror. His soul peeled from his body in a pale, trembling coil. His corpse dropped. His soul rose. The Valkyr swallowed it whole. I gagged. Lyrian dug her fingers into my forearm. We need to regroup. Supplies, reinforcements, somewhere defensible. We need direction, I said. Where's Tyrion? A roar answered in his stead. Not human, not living, but not undead either. A death knight of the ebon blade burst through a cluster of ghouls, rune blade cleaving arcs of pale frost in the air. His helm was cracked, his armor stained with frozen blood. The runes on his sword flickered like dying stars. He stopped only when he reached us, his breath spilling out in a grey coil. "You two," he growled, voice scraping like a shovel through gravel. "Inside, now." "We're not abandoning the courtyard," Lyrian snapped. "Courtyard's lost," he said. "They're funneling us inward, herding us." "Herding us where?" His gaze shifted toward the central tower. "Up." A chill worse than the cold went through me. "Toward him?" "Aye." The Death Knight spat frost onto the ground. "Toward him." The Scourge were not trying to overwhelm us. They were channeling us, driving us deeper into the citadel like cattle into a slaughterhouse. "Why?" Lyrian whispered. "You'll understand when you see him," the Death Knight said. "Move." We followed him because there was nowhere else left to go in. Inside the tower, the air was stagnant, warmer but suffocating, as though every breath had to push through centuries of rot. The architecture was wrong. Angles sharpened in ways that bent light instead of reflecting it. Hallways curved slightly when they should have run straight. Shadows pooled in places where no shadow should logically gather. I felt watched, not by eyes, by structures, by stone, by the ice itself. "It's alive," Lyrian whispered under her breath. "It's listening," I said. The Death Knight grunted. "Don't give it anything to hear." We passed broken altars smeared with old offerings, bones, scraps of armor. The occasional candle melted into the shape of a screaming face. We stepped over bodies of cultists who had been crushed under their own falling ritual circles. Their blood was still steaming. They had been killed moments ago. "Who did this?" I asked. The Death Knight hesitated. "He did." "The Lich King?" "No." He looked over his shoulder, eyes hollow. "Tyrion." The word struck harder than any blow. "Tyrion slaughtered them?" Lyrian asked. "He went ahead, alone. He's not waiting for us. He's not trusting us with the final ascent." "Why?" "Because he thinks we'll break." The Death Knight turned away. And he might be right. A sound rippled through the hall. A breath. Not ours. Not human. A cold, echoing inhalation that seemed to pull the air out of our lungs with it. Lyrian froze. "He knows we're here." The Death Knight tightened his grip on his runeblade. "He always did." We continued upward. The tower narrowed as we climbed, the walls closing in like a throat tightening around a swallowed stone. Every step felt heavier, every breath harder. My heartbeat thudded loudly enough to echo off the ice. I began to hear voices again, not whispers this time, words. "Brother." I stumbled. My mother's voice, soft, tired, calling me home from the chapel steps. "Don't listen," Lyrian hissed. "Brother, help me." "Sister Malin." The woman I failed to save in the first assault. Her voice was wet, bubbling with the sound of her lungs dissolving. The light had consumed her in my hands. "I tried," I whispered. "I tried to save you." "Alaric!" Lyrian snapped, grabbing my collar. "Look at me!" Her eyes were fierce, alive, real. The voices faded. The Death Knight looked back at me, something like pity flickering across his features. "You're cracking. Hold together, priest. He hasn't even begun yet." We reached a bridge of black ice, suspended over an abyss that seemed to stretch into nothing. Snow spiraled upward instead of downward, drawn toward the citadel's peak, like souls being pulled into a great frozen lung. On the far end of the bridge, something stood. A figure, armor black as a starless night, a helm shaped like a spiked crown, a blade hanging loosely at his side, dripping a faint mist of runic frost. Not the Lich King? Not yet. A vanguard, an executioner, a shape molded from the will of someone who only needed to lift a finger to break us. "Back," the Death Knight warned. "This one is mine." He stepped forward, runeblade raised. The figure did not move. Not until the Death Knight was within striking distance. Then its head tilted. The movement was small, but the Death Knight choked. Not on blood, not on fear, on cold. His armor frosted over instantly, runes dimming, breath stopping. He staggered, dropped to one knee, then collapsed entirely. When he hit the ice, he shattered. Lyrian screamed. I did not. I was too afraid to make a sound. The figure turned toward us and slowly lifted its sword, not to attack, to point at me. I felt my soul shrink, my heart stilled, my breath vanished. Not breath, I realized distantly. Will. He was taking my will. Lyrian grabbed my hand. Her fingers were shaking violently. "Alaric," she whispered, "run!" The figure took one step toward us. The bridge groaned, the air darkened, the whispers stopped. Everything in the citadel became silent, completely, impossibly, mercilessly silent. And in that silence, I realized something with perfect clarity. We were not running toward the Lich King. We were being delivered to him. I did not run. My legs wanted to. Light above, every instinct in my body shrieked to flee across that bridge and throw myself into the void rather than face what stood before us. But Icecrown had a way of turning instinct into paralysis. The figure's presence closed around me like a fist, squeezing thought into a narrow point of terror. My breath came back, not because I willed it, but because it allowed me to keep breathing. Lyrian pulled harder. "Alaric, please, move!" Her voice cracked. The first real sound in the air since the silence slammed down. The figure's helm tilted toward her. In that small, almost curious motion, I understood something horrible. It wasn't looking at us the way a hunter views prey. It was studying us the way a sculptor studies stone, searching for the best angle to carve. My heartbeat faltered. "Lyrian," I whispered, "go. I'm not leaving you." I wished I could say her stubbornness comforted me. It didn't. It terrified me, because loyalty gets people killed faster than any blade in a place like this. The figure took another step. The ice beneath its boots rippled outward in thin cracks that spread like black veins. I raised my staff, not in defiance but in instinctive desperation, and called for the light. Nothing answered. Not a spark, not a flicker, not even the faint warmth of acknowledgement. It wasn't Icecrown's cold that blocked it. It was him. Even this echo of his will was enough to smother the light like a boot grinding down on an ember. The figure lifted its sword. The runes on the blade pulsed once with a cold so deep it burned. Lyrienne threw up a shield of light, golden, trembling, fragile. The figure's blade descended. The shield shattered like thin glass. The impact hurled Lyrienne backward, off her feet, sliding across the ice until she slammed into a jagged pillar. Her cry was soft. The sound barely escaped her lungs. I should have run to her, but I was trapped in the figure's gaze. Its sword rose again. The next stroke would end me, not just kill me, end me. A final breath, a final moment, a final thought. I thought of Sister Malin, dissolving in my hands. I thought of the squire who asked if the light would guide us home. I thought of the Valkyr's fingers reaching toward my soul. I thought of Tyrion, climbing alone into the storm, trusting us to endure the climb we clearly could not withstand. I thought of the light, and I wondered why it had abandoned me. The sword fell, and another blade intercepted it with a blast of golden brilliance that nearly blinded me. Ashbringer. Tyrion Fordring stood between me and the figure, teeth gritted, armor dented, breath fogging in furious bursts. The glow from his hammer of dawn cut through the silence like a sunrise. "Fall back, brother Thorn," he roared. My knees gave out in sheer relief, but Lyrienne was already dragging herself toward me, blood dripping from her mouth, eyes unfocused. "Tyrion!" I tried to warn him, but he already knew what he faced. The figure cocked its head again, as though amused. Then it stepped forward, blade sweeping upward in a slow, deliberate arc. Tyrion met it with Ashbringer. The clash of metal rang like a bell struck in a cathedral of ice. Light flared, shadow recoiled, frost cracked beneath their feet. "Move!" Tyrion shouted again, voice shaking the bridge. "Get inside, now!" We obeyed. Not because we were brave, because we were too terrified not to. Lyrienne half supported me as we staggered toward the far archway. Behind us, the duel raged. Ashbringer glowing with righteous fury, the figure's blade wreathed in a darkness so cold it seemed to erase the world around it. We crossed the threshold. The moment we did, the air changed. It became still, heavy, choked, and warm. Not comforting warm, but fever warm. The warmth of rot hidden beneath ice. The warmth of breath trapped in a coffin. The whispering returned, louder now, no longer counting, measuring, judging, preparing. Lyrienne collapsed to her knees. I sank beside her. "Are you hurt?" I asked. Her fingers pressed to the side of her skull, as though trying to hold it together. "He touched me. Not physically. He touched my thoughts. Everything went cold. Mine too." "No," she whispered. "Yours he claimed. Mine he only tasted." I shuddered. Ahead of us stretched a hallway carved of blackened ice that reflected nothing. Not light, not our forms. The surfaces were smooth, almost mirror-like, but no reflection appeared. It was like walking into a world that chose not to acknowledge our existence. The ceiling arched high, disappearing into darkness. The walls curved inward slightly, as if they were bending under pressure from something vast moving above them. A faint mist clung to the floor, swirling around our boots like grasping fingers. Far ahead the sound of battle rumbled. Tyrion and the figure locked in lethal struggle. But something else moved inside the walls, something breathing. Slow, deep, rhythmic. The citadel itself inhaled and exhaled. A living tomb, a prison that had learned to enjoy holding its prisoners. "Alaric," Lyrienne whispered. "Something is—" A voice spoke. Not from behind us, not from ahead, not from any one direction, from everywhere. "Enter." My blood froze, my spine locked, my vision dimmed for a heartbeat. The word wasn't shouted, it wasn't whispered, it simply existed, like the weight of the sky or the shape of death. And we obeyed. Our feet moved without instruction. Our legs carried us forward in slow, mechanical steps. The citadel swallowed us deeper with every breath. Somewhere above, I could feel him waiting. Not the echo, not the vanguard. Him, the Lich King. The mind that had watched us from the moment we set foot on the snow. The presence that had counted us, measured us, weighed us, and found us wanting. The entity that had taken millions of souls and forged them into the quiet that filled the air around us. Lyrien trembled beside me, whispering prayers that no longer made sound. I whispered nothing. I had no faith left to whisper with. And still, we climbed, step after step, breath after breath, toward the throne that waited in the storm above, toward the crown of ice and bone, toward the end of everything we believed ourselves to be. The ascent twisted inward like a staircase carved through a glacier of ancient bone. The walls grew narrower, the air warmer, not the warmth of life, but the sickly heat of something sealed too long beneath ice, exhaling decay into every breath we took. The mist thickened until it brushed against our legs like hands tugging us deeper. Every step felt like wading through the memory of a grave. Lyrien leaned heavily on my arm. Her breathing was uneven, sharp in the throat, too fast for the pace we were keeping. Fear burned faster than exertion. The contact between us felt distant, not numb, but blurred, as though something in Icecrown wanted to dissolve the idea of companionship before we reached the top. She whispered, "He feels close." I nodded, because I felt it too, an oppressive weight pressing down from above. Not a presence that approached, but one that waited. This was not a predator stalking prey. This was a king expecting his guests to arrive. The citadel inhaled. The walls flexed. And somewhere deep in the ice, I heard the slow, groaning shift of titanic chains. We emerged into a chamber lit by a dull blue glow that pulsed like the heartbeat of a dying star. Great pillars of corrupted ice rose from the floor, crawling with runes that twisted and reformed as though remembering and forgetting the language of the damned in the same breath. Between them hung shapes, suspended, unmoving, souls, hundreds, no, thousands, flickering like dim lanterns trapped inside translucent prisons of frost. Their faces were same-like at first glance, but I realized with a spike of nausea that they all bore expressions of varying horror, shock, despair, rage, pleading. Not one appeared at peace. Some had hands pressed against the inner surface of their icy tombs. Some had mouths open in screams we could not hear. Some simply stared downward as though condemned to witness every horror unfolding below. When Lyrien spoke, her voice was a ragged whisper. "Are these the ones he burned?" "No," I said, throat dry. "These are the ones he's saving." A shudder went through the chamber, and every soul flickered in unison. Lyrien gasped. He's feeding on them." "No," I murmured. "He's holding them." "For what?" I did not answer, because the truth pressed too heavily against the edge of my mind. The citadel inhaled again. This time the breath carried faint cries, tugged upward from below, from the battle still raging at the courtyard, from soldiers falling by the moment, souls smoking upward like silver threads. Tyrion was still fighting, alive, but weakening. Every scream that reached this chamber curled around me like a cold mist. Every death felt like a finger tapping my spine. The citadel was drinking them one by one, pulling each life into its lungs, and storing them here, for later. Lyrien wrapped her arms around herself, trembling. "We shouldn't be here, Alaric. No, we shouldn't." "Then why are we still moving?" I had no answer because the truth was too obvious. We weren't walking under our own will, we were being drawn. The chamber narrowed into a single corridor that rose steeply. My legs felt heavier with each step, as if the citadel were testing my ability to continue. The whispers shifted pitch, growing more focused, more deliberate, more intrusive. Not counting, not measuring, calling. "Alaric!" I froze. The voice was soft, warm, familiar in a way that pierced straight through bone and memory. Lyrien grabbed my sleeve. "Don't listen." But I had to. I knew that voice. Not from Icecrown, not from Northrend, not from any battlefield. It came from a place I had buried so deeply that even the light no longer touched it. My brother. He had died in the plague years ago, choking in my arms as Lordaeron collapsed around us. I had closed his eyes with trembling fingers. I had carried his body for miles to reach the cathedral. I had begged priests to bless him, to save him, to cleanse him. And in the end, I had laid him in a mass grave surrounded by strangers. Hearing him now felt like the world tilting beneath my feet. "Alaric, help me." My throat tightened painfully. "Stop," Lyrien said. "It's not him." The voice came again, gentle now, coaxing. "It hurts, brother. Please." I shook, not from cold, from the knife of guilt twisting under every word. "Alaric, look at me." Lyrien's grip tightened. "It's not him. It's him." The voice changed. The same voice, the same tone. But without the memory behind it. Hollow. Wrong. "Please." And then lower, colder, the true voice beneath it. "Come." My legs moved forward before I commanded them. Lyrien yanked me back. "Alaric, no!" She dragged me until my eyes broke from the hallway's pull. My lungs inhaled sharply, as though I had been underwater. The presence pressing down on my will receded slightly, enough to think again. Barely. "We can't continue like this," she whispered. "He'll take your mind." "He already took part of it," I murmured. She didn't deny it. We pressed on. The hallway opened into a vast circular platform. Wind screamed through jagged openings in the walls, and snow spiraled upward into the dark above. A staircase of uneven ice led toward the open sky, the final ascent. The frozen throne was near. I felt it in my marrow. But the platform was not empty. Dozens, scores of Argent soldiers lay strewn across the ice. Some still breathed, shallow and weak. Some were frozen mid-motion, their faces twisted in terror, their bodies encased in frost that seemed to have grown inside them rather than around them. Their armor cracked with each faint breath. A few reached out weakly as we passed. Most were already beyond reach. Lyrien knelt beside a dying paladin, placing her trembling hands on his breastplate. "I can heal him. I can try. Don't," a voice rasped. The paladin's cracked lips struggled to form the word. "Too late. He showed me things." His eyes rolled toward mine. There was no blue glow in them, just the emptiness of a man whose mind had been peeled apart. "He knows. Your face. Brother Thorn." My blood froze. "He waits for you." The paladin's breath stilled. His eyes did not close. They stared upward as though watching something descend toward him. Lyrien stood slowly. "Alaric, why you?" I swallowed. Why me? I had no answer. But I felt it, more and more clearly with each step. He wanted me. Not Lyrien, not Tyrion, not the Crusade. Me. and the thought made my stomach twist. We crossed the platform, stepping between the fallen, moving toward the stairs. And then the sky flashed, bright, golden. A shockwave of light rippled through the air above, brushing our faces with warm breath for the first time since we set foot in Icecrown. "Tyrion," Lyrian whispered. Another shockwave, then a scream, not human. A bellow of outrage that vibrated the entire spire. We stopped at the base of the stairs. Snow spiraled around us. The wind howled, and a voice rolled down the staircase like thunder. "Come to me!" My heart stopped. My breath froze. Lyrian grabbed my hand. "Don't go up there alone." But the voice came again, soft as a whisper, cold as the grave. "Alaric." And I understood with sickening clarity that the final hours of the Argent Crusade were not a battle. They were an invitation, and we had already accepted. I forced myself to breathe, though every inhalation felt like dragging ice into my lungs. The staircase before us twisted upward like a spine of jagged frost, vanishing into a break in the storm wall above. Lightning flickered inside the clouds, blue, sickly, corpse-like. Each flash illuminated ancient scars in the ice, gouges melted and refrozen countless times, as if this path had been walked before, as if countless souls had taken these steps to their end. And now, it was our turn. Lyrian squeezed my hand, her grip trembling. "You don't have to answer him." "I already have," I said quietly. No, you haven't. He's pulling you." "That's not the same thing as walking." But the truth sat in my chest, like a shard of frost morn itself. I was walking, and I didn't know if I could stop. "Lyrian," I whispered, "if he wants me, I need you to make sure the crusade survives this." "Don't you dare," she said through clenched teeth. "Don't you make this into some noble sacrifice. You're not dying for the light. You're being dragged to him. That is not the same." Another flash of light erupted above. A shockwave of holy energy rolled down the staircase, making the ice hum beneath our boots. The storm parted for an instant, revealing two silhouettes locked in combat, one radiant and blinding, the other massive and crowned in jagged bone, Tyrion, and Arthas Menethil, the Lich King. I felt my heart seize. The storm closed again, but the echo of their clash lingered in the air, vibrating through the spire like a heartbeat struggling to hold rhythm against death itself. Lyrian tugged my sleeve. "Alaric, we can't hesitate. If Tyrion is still alive up there, he needs us." "He doesn't," I said. "What?" "He didn't bring us here to help him. He brought us here to witness." "To witness what?" I looked up into the swirling storm. The end. We began the ascent. The stairs cracked under our weight, shedding thin slivers of ice that spiraled into the abyss below. Wind screamed around us like the wailing choir of the uncounted dead. Every step made the air heavier, thicker, as though ascending into some atmosphere that had never been meant for the living. The whispers resumed. Not counting, not calling, not testing, guiding. Higher. Almost. "Do not fear." Voices of children, voices of the dying, voices of lost loves, voices of people long dead. Lyrian pressed her palm to her ear, grimacing. "It's inside my skull. Alaric, they're trying to show me something. Don't let them. I can't stop them." Another flash of holy light tore through the clouds. A shockwave forced us to crouch, gripping the ice to avoid being thrown back down the spire. Wind roared downward, carrying fragments of distant voices. "Fordring! Arthas! You cannot! I will never!" Then the sky blackened again. We pushed onward. Halfway up, we encountered the first bodies. Crusaders, dozens of them, scattered across the stairs, frozen in twisted positions of agony. Their armor cracked from the inside, their eyes frosted over. Some had mouths stretched open in eternal screams, their voices stolen by the storm. Lyrienne knelt beside one, touching his face gently. "He wasn't killed by a blade," she whispered. "He froze from the soul outward." Another had clawed at his own armor with bloody fingers, trying to tear it off before it crushed him from within. "He made them watch," Lyrienne said. "He wanted them to see what waited above." "No," I said. "He wanted us, too." She swallowed, rising slowly. "Alaric," she said softly, "if we keep going, there's no turning back. There hasn't been since we stepped into Northrend." She nodded miserably. "Then let's end this." The storm parted once more, this time not from Tyrion's light, but from a command, a whisper, not spoken aloud. "Enter." It rolled through the world like a law being written. The stairs leveled out onto a wide plateau of ice that stretched toward the final rise. The wind stopped completely. Sound died. Even the storm above held its breath. Lyrienne grabbed my hand again. Not in fear, in choice. We stepped forward together. The path narrowed again, flanked by two monolithic statues carved from ice and bone. They resembled great kings twisted by undeath, their faces expressionless, their eyes empty sockets filled with pale blue fire. Between them lay the final ascent. I looked up, and there, for the first time without obstruction, I saw it. The frozen throne, a monument of jagged crystal and ancient will, rising like a crown of broken fangs above the world. It pulsed with faint, sickly blue light. The air around it shimmered with cold so absolute that it blurred the edges of reality. And upon it, a figure stood, not seated, standing, tall, clad in black armor, rimed with frost. Frostmourne gripped loosely in his hand, as if he held it the way another man might hold a quill, casually, effortlessly. The Lich King. Arthas Menethil. His helm glowed with baleful blue light that streamed out like smoke. Even across that impossible distance, I felt his gaze meet mine, pinning me in place, knowing me, recognizing me, as though he had known my name before I was ever born. Lyrienne sucked in a sharp breath, her hand trembling in mine. "Alaric," she whispered, Why is he looking at you?" I couldn't speak. He tilted his head slightly, not curiosity, recognition, as if seeing a long-awaited guest finally arrive. A low rumble spread through the ice. Snow spiraled upward. The storm above parted in a slow, deliberate ring, revealing a void of unnatural clarity around the throne. For the first time in what felt like an eternity, there was no sound at all. Then, a figure beside him moved. Tyrion Fordring. On his knees, armor shattered, blood freezing to crust on his chin. Ashbringer lodged in the ice beside him, barely within reach. He was alive, but only barely. He looked up at us, at me. His eyes widened, not in relief, in warning. He mouthed a single word, his breath too thin for sound. "Run." The Lich King placed a gauntleted hand on Tyrion's shoulder, and with a voice that cut through my skull like a blade made of memory and ice, he spoke. "Come, Alaric Thorn. I have been waiting." The world tilted. Lyrien gasped, gripping my arm until her nails dug through cloth and skin. "Why you?" she begged. "Why you?" And the Lich King answered, as if hearing her thought across the windless air. "Because he belongs to me." The words did something to the air around us. They didn't echo. They didn't reverberate. They didn't even sound spoken. They simply existed, carving themselves into the cold, the way a blade carves into flesh. Lyrien staggered as though struck, her hand flying to her temple. I felt the soundless impact hammer straight through my ribcage and settle somewhere behind my heart. Because the terrifying thing wasn't that he claimed I belonged to him. It was that the statement felt familiar, expected. I tried to speak, but breath wouldn't come. My lungs refused me, as if the air itself belonged to him too. A faint buzzing filled my skull, like distant chanting echoing through the marrow of my bones. Lyrien shook me hard. "Alaric!" Her voice broke under sheer terror. "Don't listen. Don't let him." But it was too late. The Lich King lifted Frostmourne one-handed. The runes along its length flared to life, cold blue fire licking down the blade, turning the very air into a trembling sheet of frost. Tyrion's fingers clawed weakly at the ice, dragging himself upright by inches. He was battered, bloodied, but I saw the stubborn glint of defiance still burning behind the pain. He mouthed another word. "Fight!" The Lich King did not spare him a glance. He stepped forward. The ice groaned beneath his armor, not cracking, but bending, as if the entire frozen throne bowed beneath him. "Come!" The single word rolled through us like a shockwave. My legs moved forward, not under my command, not against my will, without my will. Lyrien yanked me back so violently I nearly fell. "No, Alaric, no, stay with me, stay!" But the next word was a command forged in death. "Enough!" The force of it blasted the air outward. Lyrien screamed, thrown backwards across the ice, sliding until she hit a ridge with bone-jarring force. She slumped, gasping, trying to lift herself. I staggered, nearly buckling, but the command that followed was meant for me alone. "Alaric Thorn, walk!" The staircase behind me sealed itself with a roar of grinding ice. The path forward shimmered, lined with faint blue fire that marked a single trail leading straight toward the base of the frozen throne. I was no longer invited. I was summoned. I felt my feet begin to move, every muscle trembling with the effort to resist. My breath escaped in sharp, panicked bursts. My vision blurred at the edges. Lyrien dragged herself forward on hands and knees, voice hoarse with desperation. "Alaric, please, don't let him take you." Her words twisted something deep in my chest. My heel caught on the ice as I forced it to stop moving, just for a heartbeat, just long enough to breathe a word. "Help me?" Lyrien's eyes widened in a mixture of terror and determination. She pushed herself upright, shaking from pain and exhaustion, and screamed, "Light, hear me!" She thrust her staff toward Sar, me, pouring everything she had left into one desperate surge of power. A burst of golden radiance exploded outward, blinding and warm and burning. The Lich King lifted Frostmourne. He did not strike. He simply raised the blade, angled it slightly, and the light died. Extinguished, not snuffed, unmade. Lyrien collapsed, screaming as though part of her mind had been ripped away with it. I staggered, blinded. Frost tore through the air, and when my sight cleared, she lay on the ice, breathing but unconscious, her fingers twitching in frost-bitten spasms. The Lich King spoke with a quiet contempt that crushed me more than any shout could have. "Do not interfere." My feet began moving again. One step, then another, toward him, toward the throne, toward the end. Tyrion braced himself on Ashbringer, pushing with trembling arms to rise again. He managed only a few inches before the Lich King pressed a boot on his shoulder, pinning him effortlessly. "It was never your destiny to reach me, Fordring," Arthas murmured. "Only to bring him." Tyrion's face contorted in fury. "You will not have him." "You do not choose," the Lich King replied. "None of you do." I tried to shout, tried to call his name, tried to call Lyrien's, tried to call anyone. Nothing came. My voice was not mine to use. I reached the first icy step at the base of the throne. Frostmourne hummed, a low, vibrating resonance that sank into my bones. The runes glowed brighter as I approached. "Do you know why I called you Alaric Thorn?" the Lich King asked. I could not speak, but Frostmourne allowed the answer to bloom in my mind. "Because I remember you, not in my lifetime, not in any story I had heard, but in a way far older. Too old. Older than Lordaeron. Older than Scourge. Older than Arthas Menethil's fall." The throne pulsed. Ice groaned. The memory surged through me, foreign yet familiar, impossible yet undeniable. A battlefield under another sky, another life, another war. My soul standing at the edge of another throne of death, another king calling my name. Not Arthas, not the Lich King, but something ancient behind both. Something that had worn many faces, many bodies, many crowns. The Lich King lowered Frostmourne until the blade hovered inches from my throat. "When a soul resonates across ages," he murmured, "it is not forgotten." My knees buckled. I collapsed. The cold of the ice burned my skin through armor, seeping into bone. "But this time," he whispered, leaning closer, "you will serve willingly." He pressed Frostmourne's tip to my chest. White fire exploded behind my eyes. I screamed, but not aloud. Inside, silently, as something in me tore open, and the thing behind the throne reached out. The pain was not the searing agony of a wound. It was something colder, older, an ache that started behind the sternum and radiated outward like cracks spreading across a frozen lake. My breath hitched. My vision dimmed. It felt as if my ribs were being pried open from the inside, not by claws or steel, but by memory. Not my memory. Something else's. The tip of Frostmourne rested against my chest plate, and though the steel had not pierced metal or flesh, I felt it touch the soul itself, cold, probing, intimate. A parasite's gentle, patient inquiry. Tyrion strained beneath Arthas's boot, teeth bared as he forced out a strangled command. "Allah. Rick. Fight. Him." The Lich King pressed harder. Frost formed across Tyrion's armor. His voice died in a choking gasp. "His will is not yours to claim, Paladin," Arthas said, tone calm, almost bored. "It never has been." His gaze returned to me. "The soul remembers what the mind forgets," he said softly, almost gently. "And yours remembers me." Pain lanced through me. Images I didn't understand tore across the inside of my skull. Brief, broken glimpses. A towering obsidian fortress beneath a sky without sun. An army of bone-white figures marching in perfect silence. A blade that was not Frostmourne, but its predecessor, its shadow, its prototype. A throne carved not from ice, but from something far darker. A figure seated upon it. eyes like dying stars. A voice whispering a name that might have been mine. "Do you see it?" Arthas murmured. "Do you see the echo of what you were before this fleeting mortal shell?" I tried to pull back. My body twitched, resisting in pitiful spasms. But the ice beneath my knees held me. Frost crept along my gauntlets, up my arms, into my elbows. My heart pounded, once, twice, then slowed again. A heavy numbness spread through my limbs. Lyrien's voice reached me faint and broken across the ice. "Alaric, don't let him take you." She was crawling toward me, dragging herself by her forearms, each movement leaving streaks of blood on the ice. Her face was pale, lips blue, but her eyes, light above, her eyes still fought. The Lich King didn't even look at her. He didn't need to. She froze mid-crawl as frost webbed across her limbs, locking her in place. Her cry choked off, trapped behind clenched teeth. Arthas's voice, lowered to a whisper, meant only for me. "You wonder why the light faltered in your hands, why it flickered, why it diminished each time you called upon it." His gauntlet brushed Frostmourn's hilt like a lover's gesture. It was not failing, Alaric Thorn. The blade's glow intensified, spilling blue light across the ice. It was yielding. Yielding, I managed, breath trembling, to what you truly are. The world tilted. The ice beneath me pulsed like the beat of a gigantic slumbering heart. The throne behind him hummed in answer. Frostmourn vibrated against my chest, and inside me, deep, deep inside, I felt something stir. Not warm, not bright, not holy. Something ancient, something winter cold, something that recognized the call of the blade. Terror surged up my throat. "No," I gasped. Arthas leaned closer. "It awakens," he murmured, "as it did ages ago, as it did for each who bore this legacy. Souls chosen long before Azeroth was shaped, souls bound to the mantle of death's command." He wasn't speaking to me anymore. He was reciting, remembering, declaring. "A soul that hears the voice of the grave," he whispered, "cannot pretend to belong to the light." My heart spasmed. An icy shock raced up my spine. My vision blurred into white, then black, then white again. Tyrion roared something incoherent, straining with all his strength. The ice around him cracked. A thin line of golden light bled upward from beneath him. Ashbringer flickered, struggled, dimmed, flared. The Lich King stepped harder on Tyrion's shoulder, and the light sputtered out like a candle smothered beneath a boot. "Do you know," Arthas said, never looking away from me, "why your prayers felt hollow in Icecrown? Why the light seemed reluctant? Why your faith rang empty as if echoing through a tomb?" I shook my head, tiny, trembling motions I barely controlled. "Because faith cannot take root in soil claimed by another power." He pressed Frostmourn harder. My body convulsed. My scream turned into vapor. "You were never the light's to claim." The runes blazed. Something inside me broke. Not bone, not flesh. Something deeper. A tether snapped like a frayed thread. An emptiness flooded my chest, followed by something colder rushing to fill it. The air around us shuddered. The throne behind him pulsed like a waking eye. Lyrien's muffled scream tore through her frozen prison. Tyrion's voice, hoarse and furious, managed a single desperate command. "Alaric, no!" but his cry was nothing compared to the voice that filled my skull like a storm exploding outward. Not the Lich King, not Arthas Menethil. Something older, something deeper. A voice from beneath the ice. A voice from behind Frostmourne. A voice that knew me. At last. Ice cracked across the platform. The storm above spiraled downward. Souls screamed from within their frozen prisons in the walls. The Lich King released Frostmourne, but the blade didn't fall. It hovered in the air, point anchored against my breastplate, held by a force older than Arthas. And the voice behind the blade whispered again, "We begin." A shockwave erupted through me, not outward, inward. Memories that were never mine flooded in, battles against things with no names, marching through realms of shadow, kneeling before a throne forged from the bones of stars. Holding a rune blade in my own hand, my blade, not Frostmourne, and commanding legions of pale, silent warriors. A lifetime before this one. A soul unmade and reshaped ages ago. A destiny buried under lifetimes of false light. Lyrian screamed my name. Tyrion broke free of the ice. Arthas stepped back, watching me with an expression that chilled me more than his. Armor. Satisfaction. He had been right. Something inside me was waking. Something terrible. Something familiar. Something mine. The awakening was not a surge. It was not a violent seizure of my senses. It was more like the slow opening of an eye that had been shut for centuries. An eye buried deep within the soul, beneath layers of memory, identity, faith, and fear. Its cold sight washed through me, erasing warmth wherever it passed. Lyrian's scream pierced the air again, raw and terrified. "Alaric, resist him!" Her voice sounded distant, muffled by the howling storm inside my skull. I wanted to answer her. Some part of me, the part that remembered warmth, humanity, the light, clawed upward desperately, trying to push through the encroaching frost. But the other part, the part that recognized the throne, recognized the blade, recognized the ancient voice behind both, that part rose faster, stronger, hungrier. Arthur stepped backward, Frostmourne floating between us, its runes burning like brands against my chest. "You feel it," he said quietly. "The truth the light hid from you. The truth that called you here long before you were born." I couldn't respond, because the blade wasn't waiting for my voice. It wanted my will, it wanted my obedience, it wanted my soul to remember itself. Tyrion, shaking with fury and pain, forced himself upright again, Ashbringer flickering irregularly in his grip. Golden light sputtered around him like embers struggling against a flood. He shouted, "Alaric, do not listen!" The Lich King didn't even turn. With a gesture, a wall of frost slammed Tyrion back down, pinning him to the ice once more. "Your light is an echo," Arthur said without emotion, "and echoes fade." Lyrian clawed her way toward me again, dragging herself despite the frost locking her limbs. Blood smeared beneath her fingers. Her eyes were wide, frantic. "Alaric, look at me. Look at me, please. This isn't you." Her voice trembled on the edge of shattering. "That is where you are wrong," the Lich King said softly. He pointed at me with a single gauntleted finger. "This is exactly what he is." Pain spiked through my chest as Frostmourne's tip pressed harder. I felt its hunger, its anticipation, its recognition. My breath rattled out in a cloud of frozen mist. Lyrian sobbed, "No, it's not. Alaric, you are a healer. You're a brother of the light. You saved me. You saved so many." Her voice cracked as tears froze on her cheeks. You are not his. Her words struck something in me. A memory, not ancient, not buried in forgotten ages. A memory of her trembling smile when she healed a dying squire, her whispered prayers over mass graves, her hands shaking when she confessed she feared she'd lost the light long before Icecrown, the way she said my name when she needed me to stay present, to stay human. My heart surged. For a brief instant, warmth flickered there, small, fragile, but real. Frostmourn's runes dimmed. The Lich King's head tilted, curiosity sharpening at the edges. "Interesting," he murmured. Tyrion roared through clenched teeth, voice cracking with effort. "Fight him, Alaric!" The light flickered around him once more, and Frostmourne stabbed inward another fraction of an inch. White agony seared across my mind. My scream turned to mist as breath failed me. The ancient voice behind the blade whispered, "Do not cling to dying light. You were forged for the cold." Something deep in my chest lurched. My vision split between two worlds. One, this life. Icecrown, the Crusade, Lyrien, Tyrion, the light. And the other, a throne of bone, a blade of shadow, legions kneeling in silent worship, a mantle of death resting across my shoulders. A truth so old it made this life feel temporary, a truth so vast it smothered the present, a truth that felt like home. "No," I whispered, barely able to hear myself. "Not this." The Lich King stepped closer. His presence collapsed the space between us like gravity pulling a star inward. "You were chosen long before this incarnation," he said. "Before Lordaeron. Before Lordaeron's ruins. Before your mother, your brother, your first breath." Frostmourn's glow intensified. "You served a throne before mine." My pulse stuttered. My breath faltered. The ancient eye within me opened wider, and for the first time, I saw it clearly. The echo. A silhouette of myself, another self, clad in armor carved from the ribs of dead gods. A helm shaped like a skull. A blade forged from the howling of souls. An army of death kneeling at my feet. I staggered. Lyrien screamed my name again, voice cracking with pure primal terror. Tyrion strained against the frost prison, Ashbringer flickering wild and unstable. The Lich King leaned closer until his helm was inches from my face. "You feel it awakening," he whispered. "You feel the truth stirring. You feel the echo of what you were." The voice behind Frostmourne rose like a tide, drowning thought. "Rise!" My back arched, my limbs shook. Frost laced across my skin beneath the armor. "Stop!" Lyrien shrieked. "Stop! Stop! Please stop! You're killing him!" "Killing?" Arthas repeated, sounding amused for the first time. He tilted his head. "No." His voice lowered, cold, soft, final. "I am freeing him." The ice beneath us cracked in a perfect ring. The storm above spiraled downward in a funnel. Frostmourne pierced through the last barrier inside my chest, and the ancient thing within me woke. It wasn't rage, it wasn't power, it wasn't darkness, it was recognition. A returning to form, an inhale after a long-held breath, a homecoming. Lyrien fell silent, staring at me with wordless horror. Tyrion's scream broke the ice around him as Ashbringer flared desperately. The Lich King stepped back, letting Frostmourne hover freely, and I rose slowly to my feet, not with my strength, with its. Frost burst from my gauntlets. My breath exhaled in sheets of cold mist. My shadow lengthened across the ice, splitting into branching tendrils. The world dimmed. The light shrank. The ancient voice whispered, "At long last, arise." The cold didn't swallow me. It recognized me. It moved through my veins like a long-forgotten river returning to its ancient bed. Every heartbeat echoed with the rhythm of something older than my mortal life. The air around me warped, spiraling inward, bending toward me as though the throne itself were leaning closer. Lyrian's voice reached me as a faint whisper. "Alaric, please, no." The terror in her eyes cut deeper than Frostmourne ever could. Her gaze trembled, her lips quivered, her breath came in sharp, broken bursts. She wasn't looking at me. She was looking at what stood behind my eyes. Something vast, something cold, something that had worn my soul like a mask through ages. Tyrion pushed himself to his knees, Ashbringer blazing with frantic, unstable light. His voice cracked as he roared, "Fight it! Isla! Rick!" But I could not answer him. I could not even answer myself, because for the first time I felt the truth the Lich King had known all along. I did not belong to the light. I had only been borrowing it. What stirred inside me now was older, colder, truer. I lifted my hand. It was not my hand. A gauntlet of blackened frost encased it, forming over my flesh like ice growing across a corpse. My fingers elongated slightly, joints stiffening, bones shifting in ways that whispered of ancient memories. A tendril of runic frost rose from my palm. Arthas watched with quiet, satisfied stillness. "You see," he murmured, "you were not meant to stand against me. You were meant to stand beside me." "No," Lyrian whispered. "No, no, no. Alaric, please, please come back. You're stronger than this. You're you." Her voice wavered as frost crept slowly up her arms, freezing her hands to the ground. I turned toward her, not by choice, by instinct. The thing inside me recognized something in her, something bright, something warm, something defiant, and it hungered for it. Lyrian saw the shift in my posture. Her eyes widened. Her breath hitched. She pressed herself backwards, fingers scraping at the ice as she tried desperately to retreat. "Alaric, please don't come any closer." Tyrion slammed Ashbringer into the ice, sending a pulse of light ripping across the platform. "Stop!" he bellowed. "Do not touch her! Do not go any further!" The shockwave struck me squarely in the chest. The ancient presence inside me recoiled. For a moment, a single fragile heartbeat, I was myself again. I gasped. My knees buckled. My hands shook. The frost armor splintered. Lyrian's eyes filled with tears of desperate hope. "Laric?" she whispered. I tried to speak, but the voice behind me, the ancient presence, surged again, wrapping around my ribs like claws of ice. The Lich King stepped forward and rested a hand on my shoulder. At his touch, frost exploded across my spine. "Do not resist," he said softly. "You are only delaying your rebirth." The world dimmed. The ancient presence rose again. Lyrian cried out, "No!" Tyrion pushed himself upright, palms bleeding, Ashbringer blazing brighter than before, almost frantic. "Alaric!" he shouted, voice hoarse. "Listen to me! You are not his! You are—" The Lich King raised his hand, and Tyrion froze mid-sentence, as if his voice had been seized by invisible chains. "He cannot hear you," Arthas said. But I could. Tyrion's voice reached somewhere deep inside me, a place untouched by cold, a place shaped by vows, by light, by the memory of what I swore to become. The presence inside me quivered, not with fear, but annoyance. Unfinished, unclaimed. The Lich King lowered his hand. Then he leaned close and spoke into my ear. "End him." The command struck my mind like a hammer hitting a cracked bell. My body moved. I reached for Frostmourne. The blade drifted toward me like a lover answering a call. Tyrion staggered backward, raising Ashbringer in trembling defiance. "No! Alaric! Stop!" I stepped toward him. Ashbringer flickered. Lyrienne screamed until her voice broke. The presence inside me surged. My hand closed around Frostmourne's hilt. The blade sang, a hungry, triumphant note. The Lich King watched. The throne pulsed. The ancient voice whispered, "Take your place." I lifted Frostmourne. Tyrion roared, raising Ashbringer for a final stand. And in that instant, in the space between one heartbeat and the next, I saw the future. Not a vision, not a prophecy. A memory of what had already happened countless times before. Me, standing where Arthas now stood, a helm of jagged bone crowning my brow, Frostmourne in my hand, Lyrienne dead at my feet, Tyrion broken, the crusade shattered, the world kneeling beneath an eternal winter. Not a possibility, a certainty. If I swung the blade now, even once, the cycle would continue. The mantle would pass. The throne would claim a new king. Death would take my soul as its next puppet. And I finally understood. The Lich King didn't want to kill me. He wanted to replace himself. The ancient voice swelled to a crescendo in my skull. "Rise, my heir." Frostmourne came down. Light flared. Tyrion screamed. Lyrienne sobbed. And I chose. Not the light, not the throne, not him. I chose myself. I twisted Frostmourne's trajectory a hair's breadth at the last instant. The blade did not strike Tyrion. It struck me. The steel pierced my abdomen. Cold fire exploded through my core. The ancient presence shrieked inside me, recoiling violently. The Lich King's head snapped back in shock. Lyrienne screamed my name so loudly the ice cracked. Tyrion surged upward with a roar of pure rage and hope. Ashbringer ignited like a newborn sun. And the ancient voice within me wailed, "No!" But it was too late. I had torn open my own soul, and now the light could finally reach in. The light did not descend like a beacon from the heavens. It did not blaze or roar or consume the darkness in triumphant fire. It seeped in, quietly, softly, like water finding its way through cracks in shattered stone. It touched the edges of my soul, carefully at first, as if afraid to break what remained. Then it flowed inward through the wound Frostmourne had carved, filling the hollow the ancient presence had tried to claim. Warmth rushed through my veins. Frost receded from my fingertips. My breath returned in ragged, trembling bursts. The Lich King recoiled as if struck. Frostmourne's runes stuttered. The air around us pulsed with a sudden, violent instability. The collision of two forces that were never meant to touch. Tyrion bellowed a battle cry torn straight from his dying lungs. Ashbringer flared. A torrent of golden brilliance erupted outward, throwing shards of ice spinning into the air. "Light be with you!" he roared. The light surged, and this time it did not flicker. It did not retreat. It answered. The impact blasted me backward, ripping Frostmourne from my hands. I slammed into the ice, gasping as warmth flooded my chest, sealing the wound I had carved. Lyrienne scrambled toward me, crying openly now, "Alaric! Alaric, hold on!" Her hands touched my armor. They were warm, not with magic, but with life. The ancient presence inside me howled, scratching at the edges of my consciousness, like a beast locked behind a door too thick to break. "No, you are mine!" But the light flooded every crack, every shadow, every memory the presence tried to reclaim. The voice faded, dimmed, and finally silenced. I collapsed into Lyrien's arms, trembling uncontrollably as the frost armor shattered off my body in brittle flakes. Tyrion surged toward the Lich King, Ashbringer blazing with an intensity I'd never seen, brighter than any cathedral sunrise, brighter than any ritual blessing, brighter even than the moment he had first lifted the blade. Arthas raised Frostmourne in defense. The two blades met. Light against death, faith against domination, will against inevitability. A sound tore through the summit. Not a clang, not a scream, not a roar. A shattering. Frostmourne cracked. Blue runes sputtered, swirling like dying stars. The Lich King staggered. Tyrion shouted, "For all you have taken!" He brought Ashbringer down. Frostmourne shattered into 1,000 shards of blue-white crystal. The scream that followed did not come from Arthas. It came from the throne, from the ice, from the sky, from the souls bound within the citadel's walls. A chorus of agony, of release, of memory breaking apart. The storm above exploded outward, spiraling into a vortex of weeping souls. Arthas collapsed to his knees. Frost recoiled from the platform. The runes faded to nothing. The power in his armor dimmed to a whisper. Tyrion stood over him, chest heaving, armor broken, Ashbringer dimming now that its purpose was done. He stared down at the fallen king, not with triumph, but with grief. "Arthas Menethil," he said quietly, "may the light judge you." The former Lich King lifted his head. Without the helm's glow, his eyes were simply blue, hollow, tired, human. "Father," Arthas whispered, "is it over?" Tyrion's expression tightened. For a heartbeat, a single fragile heartbeat, I thought he might answer with compassion. But the throne behind them pulsed. A new voice emerged, strained, rasping, distorted by layers of magic and will. There must always be a Lich King. Tyrion spun, eyes widening. "No." A figure stepped forward from the shadows of the upper platform, staggering, cloaked, helm in hand. Bolvar Foredragon. Burned, charred. Alive only because the fire of the Dragon Queen had tempered him like steel. He lifted the helm of domination. The souls howling through the air surged toward him, drawn by the helm's gravity. Bolvar's voice cracked as he spoke. "If the Scourge remains leaderless, all of Azeroth will burn." Tyrion shook his head. "You cannot. You will be." "I will be what is needed." The helm descended. The voice that emerged was no longer Bolvar's. "Leave this place." Tyrion staggered back. Lyrien covered her mouth. I pushed myself to my knees, feeling the last remnants of frost drip from my armor. The new Lich King sat upon the frozen throne, bound, silent, watching. And above him, the storm closed. A prison sealed, a soul chained, a vigil eternal. Tyrion approached us slowly, exhaustion weighing down every movement. He looked at Lyrien first, saw the bruises, the frostbite, the grief in her eyes, and nodded respectfully. Then he turned to me. His gaze lingered, heavy, pained, knowing. "Brother Thorn," he said softly, "what you did here today saved us." I looked down at my gauntlets. Frost still clung to the cracks in the metal. "No," I whispered. "I almost doomed us all." "Yet you did not succumb," he said. I did not answer. because we both knew the truth. I hadn't resisted out of strength. I had resisted because I'd struck myself before the ancient presence could take me fully. Tyrion placed a hand on my shoulder. "Your struggle is not over," he said. "Nor are your questions, but you are still with us, Alaric, and that is enough. For him, maybe. Not for me. Not anymore." Lyrian knelt beside me, wrapping her arm around my back, supporting me gently. Her voice trembled. "You came back," she whispered. I thought I lost you." I looked at her, really looked at her, and for the first time the cold inside me felt quiet. Not gone, but quiet, as if retreating into the deepest shadows of my soul, waiting, watching, whispering. Not defeated, merely dormant. We made our way down the staircase together. The citadel was silent now. No drums, no whispers, no marching dead. Only the wind, only the cold, only the distant echo of the souls freed from Frostmourn's prison. As we descended, I felt the truth settling into me like a second heartbeat. I was not saved, I was not cleansed, I was not freed, I was spared, for now. When we reached the base of the spire, battered, bloodied, exhausted, the remaining Crusade forces gathered around us. Their faces carried awe, relief, horror. And when their eyes met mine, they hesitated. They saw something. They felt something, because the cold inside me was still there. Later, when campfires flickered weakly against Icecrown's eternal night, I stood apart from the others. Lyrian rested nearby, finally asleep, exhaustion pulling her under like a tide. Tyrion spoke quietly to the commanders, and I stared toward the citadel, watching the storm swirl around the throne. Something inside me whispered, "Not the end. Never the end." I closed my eyes, and in the darkness behind them, the ancient eye opened once more. Patient, waiting, unblinking. The light had won the day. But Icecrown does not forget, nor does it forgive. We walk, we wait, we listen. And somewhere beneath the ice, a part of me still answers.